When we invest in clean energy and electric vehicles and reduce population...
Wait, what?
And reduce population, more of our children can breathe clean air.
Yeah, Kamala, clean air sounds real good and all that, but I'm pretty sure that I'm the population. I don't really want to be reduced, because I'm pretty sure that means killed. You said the quiet part out loud. You're not supposed to do that. You're not supposed to publicly tell the people who you're trying to erase that there's a secret plan to erase them. That's just stupid. Let's just stick with oil and gas, okay? We're all really into saving the environment and all that, but not at the cost of reducing the population. Nobody here is trying to die so that the next generation can drive a battery-powered Ferrari. I mean, have you seen the next generation? I met a dude the other day with long purple hair and a 5 o'clock shadow who identifies as a paperclip. Clean air's not gonna help the next generation. They need medicine, and not the medicine y'all been using to reduce the population. I'm sorry, but saving the trees. We need less trees and more people who aren't as dumb as rocks. Have a good one.
So look, right, to me, this is how you know we in the last days right here. Nearly 12,000 fish wash up on shore in Texas. Bro, that is the weirdest thing ever, bro. At the same time, all this other crazy stuff is happening around the world and people still sleep. Now, if y'all remember this post from 2 weeks ago, it says New York City is sinking due to weight of its skyscrapers, new research finds, right? The very next day after this post, this appeared in New York. And just so happened, a little bit after that, in the same city this happens, where New York was filled with smoke. And when I say filled, it literally looked like something out of a movie, you heard? Now, in the same exact city, a couple days after that, New York is swarmed by thousands of bees. Not to mention, you got the Euphrates River drying up, just like the Bible said it would in the last days. Now you got more and more people claiming to see UFOs in the sky, or just seeing weird things flying around the sky or falling out the sky now all of a sudden. And the Bible clearly says that you will see signs in the sun, the moon, and the stars when it's time for Jesus to come back. Now let me tell y'all this, these are not aliens that people are claiming to see, if they're seeing anything at all. These are fallen angels, bro. Literally demonic beings dwelling on earth in a different form. Why? Because demons are being unleashed on the earth in the last days like the Bible said it would. And not only that, but you got the Euphrates River drying up just like the Bible said it would in the last days. And what's getting to me is the more this river dries up, the more demonic the world is getting, as if it's releasing demons as it's drying up. But that's just my opinion. I don't know. Now you got KFC, and not just KFC, but a lot of food commercials promoting Satanism. Selling all these Diablo sandwiches. And for anybody that don't know what Diablo means, it means devil. Now, I don't know if y'all seen the KFC commercial, but in the commercial, they call this person Lilith. And anybody who knows what Lilith is in the Bible, it is a demonic being. And they not the only ones. You got places like Arby's and a couple other places that's doing the same exact thing. So look, all I'm saying is ain't nothing no coincidence that all this stuff is happening at the same exact time, bro. You got all this crazy stuff happening in the big cities, bro, for a reason, because God is warning people to turn away from their sins. Bro, you got places like Target promoting Satanism, selling children's clothes with Baphomet heads and symbols all over. Not only that, but you got schools all around the U.S. opening up satanic after-school book clubs for little kids. Not only that, but they was promoting Satanism on the news and had a video of this woman ripping up the Bible. And now all of a sudden you continue to see all these street preachers that's preaching the gospel getting arrested for nothing at all. Now the reason I said what I said about the Euphrates River is anybody who knows that God chained up some of the fallen angels under the Euphrates River, which to me makes so much sense that the more it dries up, the more demonic the world becomes. Because I believe that it's releasing demons. Now anybody who knows about Revelation, it talks about a point in time where the beast gives life to an image and the image was able to move around and talk. And I believe it's AI. And why do I think that? Because if you do your research on this AI stuff, you know that there are demonic beings dwelling inside of these things. Everybody think everything is fun and games, bro. We are in the last days. That's why I keep making these videos. And every time I make it, I'm saying something new that's happening around the world for a reason. And I still can't cover everything because that's how much stuff is going on at one time. And the crazy thing is, we just starting, bro. And it's already getting this bad and satanic. They trying to silence the Christians, not just on TikTok, but all these other social media platforms, bro. Even in the streets with people that street preaching. But if your faith ain't in God and you have a relationship with Jesus Christ ain't as strong as you think it is, you better get it together, bro, because we running out of time. Everything that you seeing that's going on around the world is a sign that Jesus Christ is on his way, bro. Y'all better stop playing.
The best way to gain control of the most intelligent, powerful species on the planet would be to completely divide them from the love within themselves. As soon as they are old enough to begin creating an understanding of who they are, force them into a system that teaches them that it is wrong to be yourself if yourself is different from what is accepted as normal. Confuse them about their own biological makeup so that they think that permanently altering their body is the answer to happiness. Require their daily attendance at an institution that makes them focus only on the information that is provided. Make them attend that institution from age 5 until an adult and repeatedly test them on the information so that it becomes their truth. Give them an explanation to everything so that they never have a chance to make their own assumptions of the world. Scold them and humiliate them if they suggest an opinion that opposes that of their authoritives. Keep reminding them of how cruel their ancestors were to each other in the past and broadcast how cruel they are to each other in the present. Only show them tragedies on the news so that they live in fear and think the worst of one another. Convince them that their species used to be that of an incognizant wild animal. Make them think that their very existence is so incredibly random that they lack purpose and struggle to make sense of a creator. Tell them that their kind is as smart as they've ever been so that they don't question the integrity of the system that they're in. Provide them idols with artificial beauty and use them as examples of what it is to look perfect so that they are never content with their own appearance and can't help but to compare themselves amongst each other. Create addictive digital platforms that rank them by numbers so that they base their self-worth off of the amount of followers that they have and are never satisfied. Build a society around them in which those who have money benefit and those who don't fail. Make money their main focus, but make it so difficult to accumulate that they remain in a place of constant struggle, forced to dedicate the majority of their time to the system that made it this way. Tax them in every way possible, but tell them that it's for their own benefit so that they don't think twice about paying it. Take so much of their time and energy throughout the week, but give them 2 days to themselves so that they feel a sense of reward and don't fight back. Promote the consumption of poison in every social setting so that even on those 2 days, they remain disconnected from themselves and each other. Pump their food with excess sugars and addictive chemicals, but make it cheap, advertised, and easily accessible so that they never stop consuming. When their food makes them ill, prescribe them medication that only masks the symptoms so that they become dependent on it every day. Charge them so much money for healthcare so that they stay in a constant loop of consuming, medicating, and working. Cause chaos amongst them and blame it on a group of their own so that they form judgmental stereotypes. Turn them against each other in so many ways so that even if they were to connect on one, they would still be divided by another.
You can't have an abortion.
Don't you tell me what I can and can't do with my body. A woman has a right to choose.
No, I mean you're physically unable to have an abortion because you can't get pregnant.
But I missed my period.
You can't have periods either. You had a sex change, Mr. Garrison, but you don't have ovaries or a womb. You don't produce eggs.
You mean I'll never know what it feels like to have a baby growing inside me and then scramble its brains and vacuum it out?
That's right.
But I paid $5,000 to be a woman. This would mean I'm not really a woman. I'm just a guy with a mutilated penis.
Basically, yes.
So look at CNN. They're gonna say some real good shit in here. Shit that I be getting in trouble for. But just tell me if you catch anything that's kind of very interesting. You should write down some stuff too. Check this out.
State of London and the Vatican, a third city-state was officially created in 1982. That city-state is called the District of Columbia and is located on 10 square miles of land in the heart of Washington. The District of Columbia flies its own flag and has its own independent constitution. Although geographically separate, the city-states of London, the Vatican, and the District of Columbia are one interlocking empire called Empire of the City. The flag of Washington's District of Columbia has 3 red stars, one for each city-state in the 3-city empire. This corporate empire of 3 city-states controls the world economically through London's inner city, militarily through the District of Columbia, and spiritually through the Vatican. The Constitution for the District of Columbia operates under a tyrannical Roman law known as Lex Fori, which bears no resemblance to the U.S. Constitution. When Congress passed the Act of 1871, it created a separate corporate government for the District of Columbia. This treasonous act allowed the District of Columbia to operate as a corporation outside the original Constitution of the United States and outside of the best interests of American citizens. A sobering study of the signed treaties and charters between Britain and the United States exposes a shocking truth. The United States has always been, and still is, a British Crown colony. King James I was famous not for just changing the Bible into the King James Version, but for signing the First Charter of Virginia in 1606. That charter granted America's British forefathers a license to settle and colonize America. The charter also guaranteed that future kings and queens of England would have sovereign authority over all the citizens and colonized land in America stolen from the Indians. After America declared its independence from Great Britain, the Treaty of 1783 was signed. That treaty specifically identifies the King of England as the Prince of the United States and contradicts the belief that America won the War of Independence. Although King George III of England gave up most of his claims over his American colonies, he kept his right to continue receiving payment for his business venture of colonizing America. If America had really won the War of Independence, they would never have agreed to pay debts and reparations to the King of England. When Congress passed the 13th Amendment to the Constitution, the U.S. President was made subservient to the King of England. The 13th Amendment is called the Title of Nobility Amendment and forbids U.S. presidents and their officials from using royal titles like king or prince or baron. For some mysterious reason, the 13th Amendment, which was ratified in 1810, no longer appears on current copies of the Constitution. America's blood-soaked War of Independence against the British bankrupted America and turned its citizens into permanent debt slaves of the king. In the War of 1812, the British torched and burned to the ground the White House and all U.S. government buildings and destroyed ratification records of the U.S. Constitution. 1 century later, a corrupt U.S. Congress committed the biggest theft in world history. They passed Paul Warburg's Federal Reserve Act in 1913, handing over America's gold and silver reserves and total control of America's economy to the Rothschild banksters. Most Americans still believe that the Fed, or Federal Reserve, is the government. It is not. The Fed is a privately owned banking system whose majority Class A shareholders are the Rothschilds, Warburgs, Kuhn and Loeb, J.P. Morgan, Rockefeller, Israel Seif, and the Lehman Brothers. This private banking cartel is the Fed and is never audited and never pays taxes. They print and design America's money, which displays their symbols of an Egyptian pyramid, a Masonic all-seeing eye, and the words, "In God we trust." Who exactly is the God they trust? They also collect American taxpayers' money through the IRS. Then they loan it back again with interest to pay for roads, bridges, and other public. Most U.S. citizens believe that the United States is a country and that the President is the most powerful man on earth. The United States is not a country. It is a corporation, and the President is President of the Corporation of the United States. He and his elected officials work for the corporation, not for the American people. Since the United States is a corporation, who owns the corporation of the United States? Like Canada and Australia, whose leaders are prime ministers of the Queen and whose land is called Crown Land, the United States is just another Crown colony. Crown colonies are controlled by the empire of 3 city-states. At the center of each city-state is a towering, phallic-shaped stone monument called an obelisk that points skyward. In D.C. city-state, the obelisk, known as the Washington Monument, was dedicated to Freemason George Washington by the Freemason Grand Lodge of the District of Columbia. The secretive Brotherhood of Freemasons laid the Washington obelisk's cornerstone in 1848 and contributed 22 Masonic memorial stones. 250 Masonic lodges financed the Washington Monument obelisk, including the Knights Templar Masonic Order. At the heart of London city-state is a 187-ton, 69-foot-tall Egyptian obelisk called Cleopatra's Needle. It was transported from Egypt and erected on the banks of the River Thames. In Vatican City, another Egyptian obelisk towers high above St. Peter's Square.
So I've been seeing a lot of smart cities, and I decided to do a little digging myself. According to the World Economic Forum's website, 36 cities over 22 countries are participating in these smart cities. but many more is to come. So what is a smart city? Smart city stands for Surveillance Monitoring Analysis Reporting Technology. Basically, a digital ID will be given to every resident that will track in real time all of their daily movements, their activities, their spending habits, even the carbon footprint. They will be given 15-minute travel times to complete their daily activities unless they have a permit. And if they exceed those 15 minutes, they can be denied access to their spending and their activities that they need to do for the day. So of course you're like, I'm not going to move to one of those cities, right? Well, here's the thing. Because of the laws governing the Agenda 2030 land development, the government can actually seize polluted lands and force their residents to move. So if the government deems the land and water around you polluted, they can force you to move from your homes to these cities. So all of these train derailments, food processing plant fires, and other ecological disasters that are happening, they're beginning to make a lot more sense now.
Joe Biden, let's talk about how that's going in 60 seconds. Inflation is an all-time high. The world market's going down the drain. 401ks are in the tank. The cost of healthcare is increasing monthly, and the cost of everything else is going up because of disrupted trade routes and bad foreign policy. And hey, let's get rid of crude oil, because it's not like we don't use that in the production of everything we use on a daily basis. Let's threaten farmers with subsidies to make sure they destroy crops, and let's be on the precipice of a war that we're actually funding to stoke the fires to. Donald Trump put in place an executive order to make insulin affordable to millions of Americans, and Joe Biden removed that on day one, only to reinstate it 2 years later as if it's his own idea. How does that work? I'm a family of 5, 3 kids, 2 adults. My food cost has increased by $350 a month, fuel by $150 a month. Let's not talk utilities. That's 15 to 20% in most cases. This administration has literally spent more money on legislation to put drag queen story time in schools and armed security. They've spent more money on woke agenda than they have anything you've mentioned in your comment. So if this is how you're going to demonstrate how you care about your fellow American, please stop, and whatever you do, don't start caring about puppies. Ta-ta.